Good morning. I'm very happy to be here. Yesterday I was at the FIRA Barcelona for the Smart Cities conference. I come here every year since the very beginning of the Smart Cities conference. Actually, it was very exciting that the Israeli delegate for the FIRA Barcelona came to me in Israel. I never knew him. And somebody from Barcelona, Luis Gomez, who started the Smart Cities Expo and Congress, sent him to me. Now, this can happen only in the digital age, that somebody from Barcelona will introduce one Israeli to the other. That was very nice. And I have a big passion for the topic of smart cities because I believe that this is where the future is going to happen. The role of the state is diminishing and the role of the city is rising. And the reason is that with technology we can all work from home and combine work and career and family and raising children, etc. And the city becomes the center of life. And it is the ecosystem that happens in the city because I meet somebody when I take my child to the kindergarten, and then we create a business together, or I meet somebody in the coffee shop, in the local coffee shop, and then we share knowledge, etc., etc. And innovation happens this way. It's all about serendipity. It's all about just bumping into each other and creating the future together. So I come back every year to Barcelona because I love Barcelona and because I love the topic of smart cities. Now, when I talked to Lourdes and Anna, they asked me to tell my own story. So we'll start with that. I'll tell you my own story and then you can ask me questions. And I would love to help. I was born in Tel Aviv in 1942. You can think how old I am. And in that time, it was still Palestine. And the government was British. We were under the British mandate. And I remember as a young child in Tel Aviv, I was watching the British soldiers in the streets when there was a curfew. Once in a while there was a curfew. 1942 is a very important year in the history of myself because I was born then. But it's a very important date in the history of the Jewish people. It is the toughest year of the Holocaust. When I was born, my father got the last postcard from the Warsaw Ghetto, where my grandmother wrote to him that her husband, my grandfather, died of hunger in the ghetto. All of the family that was in Poland was executed in Treblinka, one of the death camps. I never met any grandfather, any grandmother, lots of uncles, aunts. They all were gone. So I grew up in a fairly sad home of young people who had moved to the land of Israel in the 30s, created a family, and lost all of their family that stayed in Europe. And it wasn't easy, but I am lucky because I am a grandmother. And actually, the first slide that I would like to show you, this is one of my grandchildren. And this is out of the portal of our company, the SME that I founded 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago, in 1978, that does management consulting to organizations. And the hands are the hands of my daughter, and she helps him grow. And our message to organizations is that we come and we help you grow. We help the managers, the founders, grow the companies. And the message is that we believe that you do not grow a company as a machine, but you grow a company as a living organism with lots of love and warmth. I believe that all you need is love. This is why I have earrings of the shape of a heart, and my ring is lots of little hearts next to each other. That's my message to the world. All you need is love, just as the Beatles said. And with love, you can grow companies. And I have 8 grandchildren. This one this photo was taken when he was 2 years old. Now he's 16, and he keeps asking me if I'm going to put somebody else. And I said, no, 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 no. This is your spot, and you are going to be there. So, as you understand, I started out in Tel Aviv in 1942. You can see Tel Aviv on the left corner of the slide. In those days, Tel Aviv was already a very lively city. It was founded in 1909, and by 1942 it had already lots of people and cultural activities and economic activities, etc., etc. And I love Tel Aviv, and I live in Tel Aviv, and I work in Tel Aviv. In spite of my age, I am still very active, as you can see. I have just one problem. I have an ankle that I broke when I was young, and it is still very painful. So I always joke that I am in the sitting age. And I was so happy when I saw Lourdes making her opening speech while she was sitting. I said, wow, I can sit too. So thank you for that. I'm very happy that we can have this conversation while we are talking. So I grew up in Tel Aviv and went to school there, and then joined the military because it's compulsory in our country, as you well know. And I was a librarian. In my military service, they sent me to a librarian course. That was my first profession. And I became responsible for the library of the General Advocate of the military, you know, the judicial system, and enjoyed it very much. Lots of very intelligent people around me, all of them lawyers with good education. That was very inspiring. I always was looking for inspiration, and it was fun. And at the same time, there was a shortage of teachers in Israel because there was a very high immigration to Israel when the city was founded in 1948, when I was 6 years old. 1.5 million people from all over the world came to Israel. Some of them survivors of the Holocaust from Europe, others refugees, Jewish refugees from all of the Arab countries who had to flee when the war broke up. And there was a shortage of teachers. There was a shortage of schools as well. I went to school in the afternoon because they had two shifts. In the morning, they had a school for grades 4 and above, and grades 1 through 3. The young kids, we went to schools at 1 o'clock and we were done at 5. So because there was still a shortage of teachers when I joined the military, which was 1960, there was a special opportunity to study in the evening at a teacher's college. Now, this is one of the first lessons that I would like to share with you. If you want to be successful, you always look for opportunities. And you don't hesitate too much, and you don't do analysis that leads to paralysis. You just do it. You just grab it. You don't ask. When Lourdes sent me such a nice letter, will you come and speak for us? I didn't ask too many questions. I immediately said, yes, I am honored. I would love to do that. My joke is that I always say yes. I never say no. There is an old musical, American musical, I think that it's Oklahoma, that you might know, in which there is this lady who sings the song, I'm a girl who can't say no. So I'm a girl who can't say no. I always say yes. So I went to this teacher's college in the evening. And when I was done with my military service, I had already a teacher's certificate. So this was my second career. First I was a librarian, then I became a teacher by serendipity. Again, just by chance. You have to open yourself to the chances. Another thing that I forgot to say is that in the teacher's college, by serendipity, I met my husband. And we got married. I was very young when I got married. I was 19 and a half. And I had my first child, the mother of that boy. The hands, I had her when I was 20 and a half, and then went back to the university. And when I came to the university, it was compulsory to study in addition to English, another language. So I studied French, and the teacher used to say mademoiselle, and everyone was laughing, and they all said, she's madame. Well, I was so young, and I was already madame. And in those days, it was kind of common to marry young, but I never gave up my career. When my daughter was 10 months old, I went back to the university, and after 1 year, my certificate was upgraded, and I was allowed to teach high school. So I was so young when I taught 11th and 12th grade, and the students were 17 and 18 years old, and I was 22. It was fun, a lot of fun. And this is the second picture here. On the lower part of the picture, on the left side, this is a high school in the Jordan Valley in Israel, with lots of kibbutzim. I don't know if you heard about kibbutzim, but in the beginning of the new Zionistic movement that brought us back into our original land of Israel. The situation was very tough. So it was very difficult to cope when you were alone. So they reorganized into little communities and they lived together and they started something new, which was called a kibbutz, which was actually a type of a cooperative, if you want, only much more intensive. They live together, they work together, they raise children together, etc. And I was a teacher in that high school where all the kids from all of the kibbutzim in the area would come to study. And that was a lot of fun too. I found that I love to talk to them always about future issues, to help them get ready for the military, to help them get ready for the future and what it will demand. And I enjoyed it very much. I had 2 more kids who were born while we were living on the kibbutz, 2 boys, so I have together 1 daughter and 2 sons. And after a few years, I got bored because I was doing again and again the same thing. I was getting older and the kids stayed young, so I was looking for some new opportunities. And I decided to move on to the university, and I did my master's degree. We moved to Jerusalem. The university is the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, which, by the way, was founded by Albert Einstein, among others, in 1925. So that, again, is before the State of Israel was founded. And I was delighted to see that in spite of the fact that by now I was kind of an older student, because I took a break between my bachelor's degree and my master's of 10 years, and I went back to study for my master's degree, and I asked myself, will I be still okay? And I was okay, and when I was done with my master's degree, and the kids were already pretty old. The oldest was 15 and a half. The second one was 10 years old, and the youngest one was 4 and a half. And I was lucky to finish the master's cum laude. And I talked to the family and I said, now I don't want to wait 10 years. I would like to have a PhD. But at the Hebrew University, the teacher that was, the professor that was leading the Department of Communications said that I should go to New York because I was very interested by then in something that is still my passion to this day, and this is what brings me here every year too, and what brought me to you as well. The interface between technology and society. Technology by itself does not interest me. I'm not interested in coding, and I don't think that we should tell our girls to go and study coding. Coding will be done in the future by smart machines. We need to teach them creativity and innovation and entrepreneurship and courage and networking. By the way, it's not a serendipity. I chose to come today with this scarf. I got it as a present from one of my friends in Switzerland, from Zurich, and I imagine that you can imagine what is the message. It's about networking. The spider creates networks, and I am a weaver of networks, just like Lourdes. I believe that this is what it is all about. If we meet each other, we can do some great things together. So I studied at NYU in a very pioneering program, which was called Media Ecology. Now, it was the 70s, and it was founded by my dear teacher who had passed away more than 10 years ago. His name was Professor Neil Postman. And if you have not seen anything or something by him, I highly recommend Neil Postman. You can just find him on the net. One of his very relevant books for what we are talking about is called Technopoly. And he's looking about society in the age of technology. And his message was that we have a Faustian bargain with technology. You know Faust from Goethe, how he did a Faustian bargain with the devil? There is a price. So technology, Neil Postman said, gives and technology takes. So where is my passion? My passion is to exploit what technology has for us, for everything, for education, for health, for transportation, for everything. At the same time, to minimize the damage, and there is a lot of damage. For example, if we speak about a smart city, the passion is to make it a conversing city, to do a lot of community development, to get people to network, okay? But you have to be very, very cautious because you don't know everybody. So the best networking that I believe in is the way you networked with me. When I say you, I mean Lourdes and Anna. They didn't just find me on the web. They talked to my friends at the Fira Barcelona, and Pilar, who is in charge of the content of the Congress every year, she told them to invite me. This is safe. So networking is not just about creating opportunities, it's about safety as well. And for women, safety is a very key issue. You don't want to network with somebody that you cannot trust, that you cannot rely on, that you don't know what's going to happen. Another example that still bothers me, and I'm looking for technology solutions for that. I would love to be living in a smart building. What is a smart building? Where everybody knows everybody through the technology. And I know that on the 3rd floor there is a physician, and on the 4th floor there is a plumber, and on the 6th floor there is an expert in Spanish. And I think that by now I need to study Spanish because I come here so often, and I'm a little ashamed that I don't know Spanish, so you have to forgive me. But maybe in one of the floors there is a pedophile. Will I allow my children to use the intranet of the building? I don't know. It might be dangerous. So this whole question of how to exploit the potential and minimize the risk was something that I got out of NYU. You see it on the right corner, the program of Media Ecology. It still exists. I'm still doing a lot of research and development, great projects with some of the people that grew up with me over there. We stayed friends to this day. It's all about friendship and love, I told you. So it's fun to do business with people that you know and that you love, only you need to grow the network through referrals by other people. I believe that this is a safe future. A few more words about safety in smart cities. I spoke about it yesterday in the conference, at the Congress. You might have seen that I represent here a few organizations. One is the SME that I created 39 years ago, which is all the way on at the bottom. But what you have at the top, the European Center for Women and Technology, I'm the national point of contact in Israel for this organization. It's an NGO, not for profit. And I am considered their expert for smart cities. So 2 years ago, we had a conference in Brussels, and I had a session on smart cities, and I asked, the women in the room what they think is the number one issue for us in this digital age. And they all said safety. Because if you want to have a career and you go to a meeting in the evening and you are afraid to come home, so how is a smart city smart if it is not safe for people like us to develop our careers? Now, I told them yesterday, and I will tell you very shortly, am I okay with the time, Lourdes? Lourdes? Yeah, I'm fine? Okay. So I'll tell you the story which I told yesterday from the stage at the Fira Barcelona about safety in cities, which is the number one issue for everyone, but for women and girls above all. One day I came back from a meeting when I was in the United States studying, and in the parking lot, somebody attacked me. Opened the door of my car and said, "Don't yell." Well, I started to yell and to honk the horn, and now he heard that I was not just shouting help or SOS, I was calling my husband. So I was shouting, "Yossi, Yossi, Yossi, Yossi." And it was probably strong enough, and my husband heard it and ran out, and that crazy guy ran away. And we called the police, and the police came, and they said, "That was very unwise that you went out to help her, because he could have killed both of you." We were shocked with this reaction. This is a safe city? So, but that is not the point of the story. The point of the story, the puenta, is that the following day, I meet a neighbor, and the neighbor says, "Edna, you shouted last night. Why did you shout?" I looked at him and I said, "You heard me shout and you didn't run to help me? This is not a safe city. A safe city is where we all help each other with lots of love." And this is why it is so important to develop communities that are very much about helping each other grow, helping each other create businesses, but helping each other to make the cities safe. It is number one. So I kept asking myself, when I was first starting to explore this issue in Brussels 2 years ago, how come everybody talks about smart cities, about how to save money in the municipalities by using all kinds of smart solutions, etc., and how to make mobility faster and more efficient, smart transportation, etc. Nobody talks about how to make the cities safer. Why isn't it number one on the agenda of all of the mayors? And I don't know, but I have a hunch that because economy is now so difficult for the leaders of the cities, and the pressure that they have is mostly about how to do more with less, how to save money. And there is a lot of potential in technology in doing more with less, of course. So the safety issue is not number one. But when I do talk to men about it, and they start to think about their women, about their mothers and wives and daughters, etc., all of a sudden they understand. And there is no way to do good business, and this is for the entrepreneurs among you. I understood when I was preparing this with Anna that many of you are entrepreneurs. You cannot do a great business if you work 8 hours a day. You can create great businesses if you work 24/7. Now, I do work 24/7, but I enjoy it because for me work is fun. It's so energizing and so interesting, and I get to meet so many interesting people that I enjoy it. So there is lack of differentiation between work and fun. That does not mean that I work 24 hours a day, all the 24 hours, and 7 days a week, all the 7 weeks, but I am available 24/7. And with digital technology, you can always be available. It's no problem. And I can go to the theater with my grandchildren and in the break look in my smartphone and see that somebody is looking for me and just say, I'll be back in 1 hour or in 2 hours, or I'll come back to you tomorrow. I can spend this week in Barcelona and still be in constant contact with my people back at home and moving everything forward, because if they have a little question that stops them from moving forward, and technology allows it for them to talk to me all the time, I am available 24/7, no problem. It's important because without safety, sometimes even if I'm willing to have a 10 p.m. meeting in a restaurant with some client or with some colleagues, but if it's not safe to get out of the car, inside the car, the parking lot, etc., etc., it's a problem. So safety is a key issue for me with a lot of passion. This is, of course, something that came out of my work with my friends in Europe. In Europe, the issue is not easier than in Tel Aviv. You have a lot of immigration, you have a lot of strangers in the cities, and you have to find ways to find friends within these strangers so that they can tell you who of these strangers is safe to do business with, and then the immigration, instead of a problem, can become a big asset. But you need to make it in a safe way. You cannot just make it without thinking how to do it. So that's another issue that I wanted to raise. And then the other organization is an NGO. As Lourdes told you, I founded this organization only 2.5 years ago, and I am very happy to tell you that Luis Gomez of FIRA Barcelona is a member of our organization, and he's very proud. He has a business card of the Israeli Smart Cities Institute, because Israel seems to be one of the key partners to this big event every year. You know, we have a delegation this year of 400 people. The delegation from Israel, which is a tiny country, is bigger than the delegation from the United States, the delegation from China, because we love innovation and we love technology, and Israel is considered smart startup nation. and Tel Aviv is considered startup city. So we love to come here. And why did I create this NGO in addition to the SME that I own? Because from working with municipalities, I identified the following problem. They are bombarded by technology vendors. SAP, IBM, everybody is bombarding them, telling them to buy this solution and that solution, and they don't know what they need, and they don't know how to choose. So I identified this as an opportunity. But I understood that in order to create trust with the municipalities and to be able to help them create a good strategy for the smart city and then to choose the right solutions that are proper for them, we don't want to make profit out of that. That's not my vision. I wanted to contribute to society. And so I invited friends of mine, my network, yes. And we are about 20 experts, each an expert in something else: smart transportation, smart education, smart health, etc., all the different aspects. And together we offer our advice to municipalities in Israel and abroad. We just won an EU-funded project which is called EU-China. We are going to advise some municipalities in China with some friends from Europe on how to create smart cities in China as well. And we committed ourselves to charge only the low public prices, which are very low, both in Israel and in Europe, so that the municipalities can afford our work with them. And we find that it's so interesting, so exciting, and I'm very happy with this NGO that I created. And I have two international experts already as members. One is from Barcelona, of course. He was the first, a very close friend. I do business only with friends, but new friends, and I am willing to do business with all of you here. I will check with Lourdes if I can trust you, but if she says yes, then I can do business with anyone in the room with pleasure, Lourdes. So the second one is a professor from Germany, from Bremen, with whom we did a lot of EU-funded projects, all of them in ICT, all of them, information communication technology. For example, one that I'm very proud of, we were partners in a big pioneering project called Wear IT at Work, which was about wearable computing. You know what I mean? Wearable, that you wear, wearable computers on the head, on the wrist, etc. Lots of years ago. And we did different scenarios in medicine, in manufacturing, in different scenarios, different work environments, how we can use technology to make the life better of the employees when they wear it, so that the hands are free to do the work, but still they have all the information available and with voice recognition and everything. And he was one of the partners, Professor Rothein Herzog, and now he invited us to the EU-China project. I didn't find out about it on the web. I told you it's not safe. So he invited us to join, and we are now partners with a large group of universities and research centers and industry, and we are going to do this project in China. So he is now a member of the Israeli Smart Cities Institute. So I kind of cherry pick them, I collect them, and I invite the best people, the best experts, the nicest, the ones that I love. You know, at my age 75, you want to get up in the morning and work only with people that you love. So that's my advice to you. Don't work with people that you don't love, or don't work with people who don't love you. You don't want to do business in a negative environment. It's all about positive energy. That creates a lot of success. So now I'll go back. So now you have the full picture from being born in Tel Aviv to moving to the Jordan Valley and kibbutz life, to moving to New York, to NYU, and to moving to Barcelona. There is one little, Barcelona is of course an icon for my work on smart cities. There is one little more story that I would like to share, and then I'll open it up to whatever questions or remarks that you might have. How did I become a consultant? I started out as a librarian, then a teacher, then a researcher at the university. How did I become a management consultant? Serendipity. I was in a conference of our department, the Media Ecology department. Twice a year, our professor understood in networking. So twice a year, it was compulsory for all the doctoral students to participate in a conference over the weekend. And he used to invite his friends to that conference and the graduates. So I was sitting on a Saturday morning during breakfast with a woman, and we got to know each other, and I asked her how she came to the conference, and she said that she's a graduate. She already has her PhD in media ecology, and naturally I asked her, where do you teach? Meaning what university or college? And she said, I don't teach. I said, okay, so what do you do with your PhD? She said, I'm a management consultant. I said, what is a management consultant? And she said, do you want to see? I said, of course. You know, I'll never say no. So I said, yes, of course. So she looked at me and she said, yes, but you cannot come up dressed the way you dress now. You have to come with a skirt and a jacket and pumps, you know, the shoes on high heels, and stockings. And if you have all of that, that's the show. You can come and join me on Monday. This was Saturday. Monday, of course, I was there. She invited me to a workshop that she was doing with executives for McGraw-Hill's, which is one of the big publishing companies in the United States, in the Rockefeller Center. It was very exciting. I came in, I saw what she was doing, and I said, wow, this is much better than what I'm doing at the university, because she is touching life. It's not just doing basic research because you have very good tools to do them, reliable and valid. No, she works with people to help them grow the organizations, to help them improve the life of the employees, to help them create a better bottom line for the company. That's much more interesting. That's fast. To put my knowledge to do something in practice. So this is my story. I became a management consultant because I met Dr. Beverly Hyman from New York. We became partners. We worked together. And then when I was done with my PhD studies and we went back to Tel Aviv, to Israel, I went on with this work in Israel to this day, and I keep helping managers grow the companies, which is a great, great job. I can tell you it's the best career ever. I cannot dream of something that is more interesting than that for me, of course, for me. I love to go from one organization to the other, to move, to meet more people, to create more friends. It's great. Never a dull moment. Never, never a dull moment. So, and to bring lots of love and positive energy wherever I go, because that's my mission, as I told you. So, I'm very happily doing this to this day. So if I summarize it and I open my and I open it up to you to ask me questions, etc. Open up to opportunities. Don't waste your time talking about problems, talking about weaknesses, talking about threats. You know, probably many of you are familiar with the model created by the famous strategist Michael Porter, the Swot Analysis. How many of you have heard about the Swot Analysis? Oh, thank you. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Yes, very good. Now, the SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I decided that Porter is obsolete. We need just 2 letters, strengths and opportunities. I don't have time to identify weaknesses and to identify threats. No time. And if you go to school and the teacher tells you that your child is doing very well in English and he's weak in mathematics, you don't go back and teach him mathematics. It's a big mistake. It's not strategy. It's not good strategy. You go and teach him more English, and now he's going to be excellent, and he's going to be different, and he's going to have a very unique skill. The whole school system is not effective. It is not helping our children to find out what they are good at and help them to make their strengths even stronger, because then they can become real stars in the community and in the economy. The school system identifies where they are weak at, and now to help them overcome their weaknesses. That's completely crazy. Life is so short that you don't want to waste your time on taking your weaknesses and improving them. Forget it. I get bored with my weaknesses. I have a long list of weaknesses. Believe me, I have. I don't bother. I just keep going forward with my strengths. That's the secret. So if you do that for yourselves and for your kids, you are going to be very successful in the digital age. And the digital age creates so many opportunities beyond time, beyond space. It's unbelievable. So let's just enjoy it. Thank you. Any questions?
Obrim el torn de preguntes.
Yes.
Just a personal question. While you were doing just a personal, because
I love personal questions and personal stories. That's the best learning. Yes.
Yeah. While you were in NYU, how do you manage with your family, with 3 kids and everybody moved to New York, or how did you manage it?
Great question. Thank you. Oh, wow. That's a great question.
I enjoyed I enjoyed the story, so just figuring out how she managed.
Thank you very much for this story. This is very important. So I'll share my secret with you, okay? Behind every successful husband, there is a supporting wife. Behind every successful wife, there is a supporting husband. And I am very lucky. I have been married to the same guy for almost 56 years. And he's very supportive. By the way, he was going to come with me to Barcelona this year. He came last year and before that, but he's already bored because, you know, and I said this year, you don't have to come. That's okay. If you don't enjoy it, you can stay home. But he's very supportive. And he was supportive at a very defining moment in my career. When I was at NYU, there was a seminar for all the doctoral students every week on a Thursday afternoon. And then after the seminar, the professor, Neil Postman, who was a real guru, and to this day he has a lot of impact on the digital age, a lot, even though he died so many years ago. He used to take the group and go to a very modest restaurant in the village, you know, near NYU, and they used to have dinner together and to schmooze. Schmooze is to have a good conversation. But of course, I ran home to be with my husband and my kids. But I told my husband about it, and he said, "You must be crazy. How come you don't stay there?" And I forgot to tell you that Postman, he was so kind. He had so much love for all of us and so much support that he said, "Why don't you stay with us?" I said, "Well, Neil, you know, I have to go to my husband and my kids." He said, "I will take you home." That was the professor, the head of the department. I said, "No, but it will be late," etc. And I told all of that to my husband, that Yossi, who saved my life when I was attacked, yeah? And he said, "You must be crazy. Neil offered to take you home and you let him down and you didn't stay. You know that what's happening in the restaurant around the supper dinner is more important than what happens at the seminar. And you are going to go there every week. It's okay." And I started to go there. And I found out that he was right, because it was about friendship, about opportunity recognition, about helping each other in the study, about helping each other in developing new businesses. He was so right. So, how can you be a wife and a mother and a career woman? The answer is that you cannot be excellent at any of these things, and it's not necessary. I'm not a perfectionist, because if I were a perfectionist, I couldn't say yes to everything. I am a good enough mom, a good enough wife, a good enough management consultant, a good enough friend. It's okay. Life is very short. It's almost over for me. So to be good enough is great. Why do I need to be a perfectionist? If the alternative to being good enough is not to do, then my advice to all of you, just do. Do something that you like, something that you love, even if you aren't only good enough, because you can partner up with other people and create a perfect solution without being perfect yourself. It's all about teamwork. I believe that the future does not belong to the lonely wolves, to the soloists, you know? No. Only teams, only playing jazz, only making music together, only growing old together, only working across ages. By the way, I love to work with the young, because the young, They teach me what I don't know in technology, in all the new things that are happening. I don't need to be an expert in the state-of-the-art technology in order to be able to do what I do, which is to help bridge the gap between technology and society. But I cannot do it alone. I have to have a network. I have to have friends. I have to trust them. I don't have time to use lawyers to write very long contracts with 20 pages and whatever. It's terrible. And I say that even though my oldest daughter is a lawyer. She's a lawyer specializing in intellectual property. But I always tell her, keep it simple. Don't make the lives of your clients miserable because you write contracts of 20 pages. Help them quickly. It's all about speed and good enough and fun. And so you can be a mother, no, we can be a wife and a mother and, by the way, a grandmother. By the way, you know why I work so many hours? I don't say that I work hard because it's fun. But I always hated, even when I gave birth to my own kids, I always hated to stay at home with them when they were very little. I hated it. I couldn't stand the weeping, the crying. I couldn't stand the fact that I had to clean the diapers. I just hated it. So I wasn't a perfect mom. I taught at the high school. The headmaster, when I gave birth, I was a high school teacher there. The headmaster came and he said, I know that you don't like to stay at home and we need you at school. I said, no problem, I come, but I need somebody to take care of the child. So, no problem, in a kibbutz you have a place where you can put your child as early as you wish. So once I could sit on a regular chair, you know why? Because after you give birth, sometimes you have to sit on a wheel because it hurts. You all, not all of you, but the women know, some of you. The moment I could sit on a regular chair, 2 weeks after childbirth, I was already back in the classroom, happily as always. I loved to spend time with the children in the afternoon, doing all kinds of things together, etc. But that's all. I don't need them 24 hours a day, too much. Grandchildren. Well, grandchildren, now I have an alibi. Because your generation, the generation of the young, they say that the only way to do a career is if their mothers take care of their children. Well, I am not such a grandmother. You want to have your children, you take care of them. You need some support to pay the whatever help you take. I'm willing to help my kids, of course, but I don't like to be with the grandchildren when they are very young. When they grow old, they become my friends. I enjoy the time with them. It's great. So just listen to your heart. Do whatever you love. Don't try to be a super mom. It's terrible. There are so many young women who have all kinds of terrible, terrible psychological problems just because they try to be perfect at everything. You don't need to be a perfect mom. That's okay. As long as you love them, you care for them, you spend whatever time you enjoy with them, it's okay. Why do you have to put pressure on yourself? So yes, I don't think that you need to choose either family or career. I want both, family and career, and you can have it too. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Edna. I wanted to ask you a question. When we listen to your story, mentorship seems to be something very important throughout your life. Can you tell us more about this? Because maybe some of us might not have a support and we're on our own. And it seems like mentorship can be very, very important, decisive. to find those right people to help us through it?
Thank you. That's a great question too. Wow, what an audience. Yes, I believe that mentorship is a key success factor in life and in career and family building, etc. Now, as I told you, I didn't have my grandmothers to teach me. Unfortunately, my mother died when I was 14 years old. She died of disease in Israel. But so even I didn't have any mentor in the family regarding how to be a mother. And then I didn't have any role model how to be a grandmother. And by the way, my daughter tried to mentor me and to tell me what type of a grandmother I need to be. This is a funny thing too, because I behave naturally. And when I saw that my first granddaughter misbehaved, I said, hey, stop it, I don't like it. And my daughter said, well, that's not a good idea, because grandmothers are supposed only to love the grandchildren, and you're not supposed to give her any negative feedback. So I said to myself, well, maybe she's right. You know, I had to invent this new social role that I didn't know before. But I felt stifled. It wasn't me. I like to behave in a natural way. What you see is what you get, you know. So I said, listen, I'll do my own mistakes and I'll pay the price for my own mistakes. That's okay. And I behaved naturally, and I said, listen, I don't like it. And when the child said, but we do it at home, I said, okay, in our home there are rules, and you obey our rules. And when we come to your home, we'll obey your rules. I'm telling you that because I didn't have mentorship, even in family life, which is extremely important, I think. But in career life, I was very lucky. When I studied at NYU, I told you that Neil Postman was such a loving teacher, so supportive, so helpful. It's just unbelievable. We don't have time for me to tell you all the things that he did for me, for my family. Something else, really. But I was lucky because one of the professors from the Hebrew University, when I studied for my master's degree, he was on sabbatical there when I did my PhD. So 1.5 years out of the 3 years of PhD studies, he was there, and he held my hand too. Whenever I came and I said, what should I do? I'll give you his name too. It's nice to share. He's such a great guy. Professor Yeshayahu Nir from the Hebrew University. He's, of course, emeritus by now, but he's alive and strong, and I hope for many years. And when I came to get his advice on how to move forward with my study, he kept saying, stop already collecting data. Just sit and write. Just do it. Don't be a perfectionist. Just write, because Yossi and the kids are going to go back home and you'll stay alone in New York. It's not a good idea. And he said, you are going to get your PhD for your brains and not for hard work. That was such a good advice too. So he was a mentor too. And I had many more along the way. Of course, that friend that taught me what management consulting is all about, of course. I try to pay back, so I promise that any of you who would like to stay in touch with me, to write, to ask me questions, whatever, I will do it happily. It's my joy now. Any student that comes to, I still teach a little at the university too. Anybody who comes and says that they want to meet with me, I never say no, by the way, to meetings as well. Anybody that calls the office and says they want to meet with me, the secretary knows. The answer is always yes. And I always learn something from the young people. And I love to give them my advice. It's a pleasure. So I think that maybe one of the projects that you could do in this network is maybe to create a mentoring program where those who would like to mentor others could become mentors. And if you would like to, I would love to help you think about what such a program could have, because mentorship is not exactly like management. So it's not like becoming a manager to somebody. It's mentor is different. And it's not like a teacher. It's different too. So we can think about it together. But it's a great idea. Now, if you don't have all of this, and you look for mentors, the answer to your question, the final part of it, is don't be shy. For example, if I invited you to be in touch with me, show up. Just show up, write an email. It's not that I said and I didn't mean it. I mean business. If I said, I mean it. And this is something that I learned from somebody who is called Woody Allen. I never met Woody Allen, but you know who is Woody Allen? Woody Allen has books in addition to the movies. So in one of the books, he tells the following story, that a journalist was interviewing him, and he asked him, what is your secret for success? You are short, you are ugly, you are Jewish. So what's your secret of success? And Woody Allen said, oh, it's very simple, I show up. So the journalist said, what do you mean you show up? So Woody said, when others think whether they should show up, when they should show up, how they should show up, I just show up. So this is a very good piece of advice. I always show up, always. So show up. You showed up here, you show up in the email to me, and this is how you find your mentors. Yeah, show up. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. It was a real pleasure. And do stay in touch. It will be lovely.
Haremos un break hasta las 11:30. Pueden pasar al café.